will go ahead and get started. If we could have the panelists introduce themselves, and let's go alphabetically by first name, if that's all right.
Well, I guess that's me. I think I better look. Well, my name's Alice Wimkin, and I'm the Assistive Technology Coordinator in Fargo Public Schools. And this is my 15th year doing that, and I'm an SLP by trade.
Thank you, Alice. I'm Amy Perrin with the Minnesota STAR program. I am the program director, and I'm happy to be here.
I think I'm next. My name is Cheryl Lugo, and I'm a speech pathologist with the Anoka Hennepin School District and the Technology for Home grant through the state of Minnesota. And I'm the AT specialist in Anoka Hennepin and speech lead.
I'm Courtney Ness-Fuchs with North Dakota Assistive. I am our assistive technology training specialist, and very happy to have you all join and very grateful to our panelists.
My name is Jameis Werenberg, and I am an assistive technology specialist with the Minnesota STAR program.
And I'm Jenny Wallen. I'm a speech language pathologist, and I am the director of the Regional Assistive Technology Center that's housed out of the Minnesota State University Moorad. I'm also a clinical supervisor here for our graduate students, but I was really excited at the opportunity to join this panel because my job before this, I was based in public school, and 80% of my students were non-speaking and used AAC. And kind of whatever setting I was in, this has always been a passion of mine. So I was really excited to be able to join today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome, Morty. We are introducing ourselves alphabetically, so you arrived just in time.
Awesome. Sorry, I had a little trouble getting in. I am Kirsten Morton-Aldis, or Morty. I'm a physical and health disabilities teacher and AT specialist in the Paul Bunyan Education Co-op, which is in the Brainerd Lakes and surrounding areas. And I'm happy to join you today. AAC is a passion of mine as well, and happy to have everybody here.
Thank you. Okay, so now that the gang's all here, let's get started. We met beforehand and really had a nice conversation trying to discuss what we should cover today, what we felt was really the most relevant and would be the most helpful to all of our attendees. I see that Courtney has attached in the chat a resource sheet that was compiled. So please feel free to look that over. And if you have any questions, throw it out there either through chat or you can raise your hand. We'll try to answer. But we have really kind of divided today's session up into 3 categories. We're going to discuss language implementation resources from vendors. Then we're going to dive into resources related to apps and AAC. And then finally, we're going to cover communication and engagement activities for low to mid-tech AAC. So first, the language implementation. I don't have my sheet all the way opened. It's Jenny first, it looks like.
Yes, it is me. Let me share my screen here. All right, so the first resource I decided to share is from the company Saltillo. And I should state, as we were having the conversation about resources that we ourselves like to use often and are some of our favorites, most of the vendors have websites with excellent resources out there. So even though we might not discuss them today, I would encourage you to check them out on your own time. We just wanted to try to narrow it down to the ones that we tend to go to most often. So the site I'm on, it's Saltillo and it's Chat Corner. So Saltillo is the company that makes TouchChat, the TouchChat communication application. But I want you to keep in mind as we're going through these, it doesn't mean that your AAC user has to be using TouchChat to use the things that I'll show you. They can definitely be carried over to other devices and other symbol systems. The beauty about this is that everything is free, and there's lots of pre-made activities or pre-made ideas and resources just to kind of get your wheels turning. So I won't go through the entire site, but I mean, really, the resources are endless on here, but the areas that I tend to use quite a bit include, let's see here, on the left-hand side, they have some supports for success. And I really like the Let's Teach Core section. So if you're somebody who might do a core word of the week, or it's something that you were always hoping to implement, or you want to start thinking about that, this is a great resource for not only you to look at, but you could pass along to, you know, behavior technicians or paraprofessionals to help them support their AAC user. So pretty much whatever word you're focusing on, they will probably have a resource for it when it comes to the core words. So let's say you were working on the word feel. This is going to lay out for you and provide a nice printout. Again, it might tell you where to find it if you are in fact using TouchChat. If that doesn't apply to the software you're using, you could even copy and paste, you know, and put a picture over the top that would match the symbol on your user's device. But it basically tells you how you could model that specific word throughout the day, how you can encourage that use of the word, and then also gives you ideas for maybe some books or some different activities that you could use to help support learning that core vocabulary word. So again, whole list of words there for your core words if that's what you're focusing on. Another great area is the active with AAC. So when you pull this up, it's going to have some common activities that you might do with your student, maybe during their free time, maybe during their sensory time. So again, another great resource that not only you could use during your sessions, but passing along to another staff member that might support the student. So let's say during sensory time, they're playing with Play-Doh. You can provide a handout and highlight where your student is at. So if they're right now just kind of at that one word level, or they're starting to combine two words, you could highlight the column, but it's going to give examples of different core words that they could model, or you could be modeling, and then also across different communicative functions. So they're not just using the device to request, it also touches on how they could use it for that social piece of things, how they could use it for sharing information. So it just kind of breaks it down. So hopefully that device isn't feeling so overwhelming. I know a lot of times when we see it, or if we have other staff members, we're wanting to encourage them to use it, it can be overwhelming with all the different words on there. So this will really just highlight during specific activities, vocabulary that you could focus on. Also on this chat corner site, I won't go into the others, but again, I encourage you to look. They have lots of different read-along books that you can open. So they'll have the YouTube video going along with it. They'll have symbols paired with the video, activities that you could do with the stories. Also, their calendar supports are awesome. So even if you don't have the calendar, you can go in here and there are pre-made activities for each month that you can use. And again, they'll maybe recommend a book that you could use, and then a craft activity that you could do with it. So if you're kind of feeling like you just don't know where to start, somebody's already done that legwork for you and provided lots of these awesome resources.
Jenny, this is Amy. I have a quick question. You mentioned YouTube videos. How does that work? Is there a video demonstrating how to implement?
Yeah, so a lot of these videos, when you go into them, it will start by kind of giving you, and I can't speak to all of them, but a lot that I've looked at, it might give you some strategies on how, as you're reading this specific book, different strategies on how you can model and encourage the use of using their device to communicate. And it will start with that, and then it'll actually have a read out loud of the story and give you some visual cues along with the story and how you could be modeling.
Wonderful. Thank you. Were there other things you wanted to share at this point, or should we move on?
I could probably share on this one all day. So I think those are kind of my main ones. If people are just looking for a starting point, I don't want to overwhelm, but I just want everyone to know all of these great free resources that are out there.
Excellent. And if you don't mind, in the chat, will you just mark on the left-hand column the two that you've focused on?
Yep, I sure will.
Next, Alice, would you like to share with us one of your favorites?
Thank you. I'll share my screen right now. Tell me if you can see it. Should be coming up here. Can you see it?
We got it. Yep.
You got it. Okay, this is great. This is from Tobii Dynavox. And so like Jenny said, many of the companies have some resources that you can use, and you can use them with any app, with any device. It's based on Core. And so Tobii Dynavox has the Core First books, and then it also has some activities or some suggestions on how you can use the books throughout the week. And so if you scroll down here, I'm gonna scroll down here. There are 3 sets of words. Well, 3 sets, and within each set is 12 words. So there's a lot of different core words that you can use with your students, and then it has lesson plans and books to go along. So this is set 1, and the first word it starts with is go, and then there's a lesson plan and 3 books. Then I'm going to scroll down and show you the other words. And then these are the other words. Like I said, there's 12 in a set. So these are the other words that are in the first set. And then when you go to the second set, there's another set of words. And so you could really have just some nice literacy centers. You can send the books home. And I know that's one of the suggestions they have in the lesson plan. So let me click here. I'll click on one of the books. And it's downloading. So here's one of the books that you could print out, and then you can use with your students. You can model where the word is on their device. You can use it for literacy, comprehension. So there's a lot of ways to use this. And I'm going to flip back here. So that's an example of one of the books. And then here's a lesson plan also that goes with it, which is nice because it talks about introducing the word have. I know for some reason it's probably hard for you to see, or it seems blurry to me, but as you go through it, it talks about how to use the book, when you can send it home. And so you have a whole week's plan or even more. And you could, incorporate a craft with this, like Jenny said, with the others. You could find a video on Go. Many times I just go to YouTube and I'll look for some, videos that might have go or have or some of our core words in them. And then what we did too is looking for additional books, because we use Reading A to Z so heavily in our district. We went into our Reading A to Z accounts, and I was able to find a lot of books that had, because it's sight words. Many of our core words are sight words. So I was able to find books then that went along. So we even had additional books that had to do with go or have or he or she. So there's a lot of really, like Jenny said, just so many things out there. It's just knowing where they are and being able to find them and have time to get everything together. But once you have everything together, you're set. So yeah, that's all I have for this one, but it's Boardmaker and it's Core First Learning and it's through Tobii Dynavox.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alice. I love how you shared that you just looked up some of those other resources. So just look up the word go and see what's out there, and bring it in with the core word pieces. So that, I think that's great.
Yes,
all
and
right.
I bet you could also find some like on Epic or, any of those things that our classrooms are using tier 1, you could find any resources too, additional. So
wonderful. Thank you. All right, Cheryl, you're up next. What's your first favorite?
And I'm going to first talk about the AAC Language Lab. And Alice, correct me if I'm wrong on this too, but with Tobii Dynavox too, whenever you get one of their devices, you get the Pathways to Core app, and that in it has, I think, access to a lot of these core books, as well as implementation ideas for goal writing and language stages and training and all sorts of really cool stuff.
Yes, I forgot about that.
So whenever you get, a lot of times the device companies have things that you get when you get their device. And this is one of them. This is PRC-Saltillo. So I'm going to kind of back up of what Jenny was talking about with Saltillo and their touch chat. Whenever you get a device from PRC-Saltillo, so that's their accent line, and it's also their oh my goodness, they're iPad-based lines. They have a bunch of iPad systems. Via Pro, thank you. And so on their iPad-based systems, you get a year free access to AAC Language Lab. And AAC Language Lab is an awesome resource. And just like Jenny said, for the resources from Saltillo, you can use these resources with other apps and devices, a lot of them, but then they do have one specific for their language systems. So Touch Chat, LAMP, Unity are the main ones, Word Power. So they have resources for that. So on AAC Language Lab, if you don't get that free resource, it is $19.95 a year, or there's a whole bunch of just free lesson plans. Or free resources, excuse me. I'm going to do the resources, not the lesson plans. So there's free activities, lesson plans, and resources. And what's really cool is they will have resources that are free for evaluations. There's manual boards, word lists, and vocab. A couple of the things that I really, really love on this, you can kind of see as you go through. There's a smart chart generator where you can do smart charts of how the pathways to different vocabulary words. And then there's also low-tech core boards and low-tech backup boards for all of their systems on here. There's this school year of core, so it's core word curriculum. And then there's some other really cool things. So there's Readtopia supports if your district uses Readtopia as one of the curriculums. There's a really great support for that. And the thing that I love the most on this is their vocabulary workbooks, which really help you kind of learn the vocabulary. And then this AAC Literacy Planner. And the Literacy Planner, again, is a free resource that you can download. And it has usually about, I don't know, 15 or 20 books. Looks like it's not going to show it to me, but about 15 or 20 books that you can go through. And it'll have a grab bag, and it will have the core words that are associated with that book. It'll have guiding questions to help you when you're building literacy, and fun activities to do along with the book, and ways to engage a student in books. And they have elementary-based planners and then secondary-based planners, which is kind of cool. So you get books like Holes and Charlotte's Web and different books like that too. So it's not just beginner core books, but it's also how to implement core in other areas. So that's one of the big things that I really love about this resource is the literacy planner. And then they also have those some of the calendars and things like that. So you can see there's manual boards that you can download for different Word Power, Unidad. There's a playground core communication board, that kind of stuff. So that's the AAC Language Lab. Again, it comes free when you buy a PRC or Saltillo device, but you can also use all of the free resources on it. The next vendor is Talk to Me Technologies, and they have some cool, so they are just merged with Saltillo with SmartBox. And Talk to Me Technologies has the Wegos and the Zuvos, and they use on the Wego, which is iPad based. There's you can get almost any app you want, and then on the Zuvo, it's Windows based, and they use Grid software and a couple other things. But on their website, you can go to these resources page, and you can get free downloads and training materials. You can get access to some of their other resources and tutorials that they have there. And then these lesson plans are what I really think are cool. And so they hand these out to the reps, have them to hand out to you, but they're really cool when you want to expand beyond the speech therapy room into home and classroom, because they'll have really fun home activities. And it's very similar to some of the other materials that you've already seen, where you can get a lesson plan for Now We're Talking, and it will have beginner, intermediate, and advanced lessons. So it'll have that same tip and trick for modeling with core words and expanding. It'll have 1-word, 2-word, and 3-word lessons. So here's the lesson for play, for example, and hopefully you can see Oh, it has to download it, but basically there's a chart with those 1, 2, and 3 words. There's a chart for parents to learn how, how they're implementing, and then tips and tricks for how to model and use the communication device in home. And there's quite a few fun little lessons in it. And so that's a resource I wanted you guys to know about today. And I'm going to stop sharing for now.
Thank you, Cheryl. And when you mentioned the first one, the AAC Lab, I was pretty excited to see that it's only $20. So if you don't get that free subscription, I think $20 is probably an investment most people can make for an annual subscription with so many resources. So yep. I thought that was great. Okay, so next up, Jenny, well, we're gonna scooch in now to our next subject area. We're going to start talking about resources related to apps and AAC. And again, if anybody has any questions as we're going along, please feel free to throw it in the chat or raise your hand, and I'm sure the panelists are happy to help. But Jenny, you're up next.
Sure. All right. The next resource I have is called OMazing Kids, and it's from Angela, I don't know, Moorad, I think is how you say her last name. And she is an amazing resource for everything AAC. So she has her own website, which is OMazingKidsLLC.com. And I'll just show you what's on here, but then I'll show you how I really tend to find her resources. And again, I'll just focus on her free ones for today. She's got obviously lots of different blog posts, but then she has her different categories. So if you're looking for anything specific on some of her past blog posts, you can look at the categories. I don't know if you guys are seeing it too, but Gestalt language processors and AAC is a big one. So I was happy to find her resource here. But how I tend to find her resources, let me pull up here. So I like to go, she puts most of her things on Teachers Pay Teachers, and she has lots of great things that you can pay for, but I will just search for OMazing Kids in Teachers Pay Teachers. And then I'm going to filter and just find her free things. And show you guys all the great stuff she has out there. So pretty much she has spreadsheets for almost anything you can think of. And again, there's some that you can pay for. So she's got an awesome one that I did pay for, and I want to say it was like $20 or $25, where it shows all of the AAC apps and feature matches on what each one has to offer. But for her free resources, one I really wanted to point out to you guys, I'm not sure if most of our listeners are SLPs, but there is one on how to get access to the most popular iOS symbol-based AAC apps. And so I have that pulled up here, but she breaks down all of the top iOS-based applications, and then how you as an SLP could get either a free trial for it or a light version, so it might not have the voice output, but it still gives you a way to at least trial it, get your hands on it, explore it with your students. And then some of them you can get a full access license as an SLP. So again, rather than having to search each of those apps individually, she has done all of the work for you. So you can find out how to get those if you do have access to an iPad at your school, how you can get access to those apps.
This is Courtney. I just wanted to add that she just released an Android version yesterday or the day before, right, for comparable. So that's also available.
Yeah, that's great. And I did, when I was searching her free resources, also came across, she has something that lays out AAC apps that could possibly, and I'm not sure why they could possibly, but she even gives the disclaimer, could work with Chromebooks. So I know a lot of our students have Chromebooks in there, and there are some of those AAC apps or software that could be compatible with the Chromebooks. And I do think that was on her free resource site. So That's all I have on her, Amy. I mean, there's plenty more again, but I love these free spreadsheets that you can find. Also, you guys can look for her videos on YouTube too. She is my go-to if I'm troubleshooting how to edit on a client's device or something. She has probably already made the video for me to troubleshoot.
Mhm.
That is awesome. Thank you. And the teachers paid teacher site is really incredible. So many different resources on there. So thanks for showing us how to find free things there. Next up is Cheryl.
All right, I'm going to share my screen again, and I will also just add to Jenny's that if you do want to pay for some of her resources, she has I don't even know how many pages it is, but she has taken like the top 12 AAC apps and done a more in-depth comparison of every single feature you might want to know about on those apps, so that and it's a feature matching chart. That's incredible, but that is a paid resource, but it's amazing. Like, it's a little overwhelming amazing, because you can learn anything you need to about the top apps. So our district, we have BoardMaker, but we also have LessonPix, and LessonPix is another option for making visual supports, and it's only $36 a year, which is cheap per person for the district, but they have a lot of really awesome free materials that you can get on LessonPix too. And so right now I'm not signed into it, and I'm just going to type in Readtopia, and you can see that there's all these resources for using Readtopia. Again, if that's a curriculum that your district uses. They also have things for literacy, where there's shared materials that you can access. One of the really cool things I found on this particular site is these tutorials and articles. So under the tutorials, LessonPix will be able to be put down into PowerPoints. You can share them. You can import and export pictures. There's all sorts of really cool, like, minimal pair tools and getting started videos. You can do it and make your own high contrast symbols. There's a symbol maker tool, so you can make your own custom symbols on there. I think that's probably in the paid version. And then all of these articles that I think are just really great. So how to support student mental health, how to do literacy for all with Readtopia and Readtopia Go. Let's see, there's templates for AAC overlays, just like there is with BoardMaker. There's a symbol builder that you can make your own. And so a lot of these things are free. Like, you don't have to be logged in necessarily to get to some of the pre-made boards. If you want to make your own, that's when you would need to be logged in. I think, does anybody have any questions about it, about LessonPix?
I also was going to add, Cheryl, and I'm not sure, maybe you know this, but I know that you can translate any of the labels into other languages too and make communication boards.
Yeah.
In Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many languages are available, but we have found that handy here.
Yeah, there's I think there's probably 15 or 20 languages available, but then we also, one thing you can do with them that you can't do like with BoardMaker is import, like, if you have something in another language, you can copy and paste it in and put it on the label too, which you can't necessarily do on BoardMaker. So that does make it really nice. And I've made some bilingual boards where I've put the English and the other language right as a label on it, so that it's not just in one language, because that's sometimes very helpful. And so that is a kind of a cool tool to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. That looks wonderful. Now, so Cheryl, are you guys using in Anoka Hennepin then LessonPix?
We're using both because we have a lot of early childhood that still use Mayor Johnson symbols and Boardmaker. But now that they've gone to online, sometimes things don't pop up too quickly, and the license is really expensive. And so a lot of people are moving towards LessonPix, some use Smarty Symbols, but I think as a district, we're finding a lot of teachers, if they don't necessarily need the Mayor Johnson symbols, they are starting to prefer it because it's quicker to use for them and it's more cost effective. The one thing is though, you can't you can't share an account quite as easily. So if you're logged in and somebody else logs in with that same account, they will knock you off. So it is a per person thing.
But it's such an affordable rate. So that's great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really pretty flexible.
Awesome.
Easy to
Okay.
use.
All right, Alice, I think you're up next.
All right, I'm Project Core. So let me share my screen here. Let's see here. I think it's here, or else I'll get to it over here. I'll get there one way or another. So, all right, can you see my screen?
We sure can.
Okay, this is Project Core, and I tell you, when we started our core initiative a number of years ago, I was so glad to have Project Core, and I probably others on the panel would say the same. It's just a great place to start. Plus, it has really great training, and we've used that. We use it a lot, and we still do. So Project Core was a grant that was created by the Center for Literacy and Disability Studies. And so there's lots of things here. So I would say just to keep coming back to it. But if you want to, just a quick start, you can go to the quick start guide. This is great for families as well as, schools, teachers, staff, anyone working with someone who uses AAC. So there's the quick start guide. So they have a universal core selection tool, so it can help you figure out which format might work best for your learner or the person that you're working with. It helps you, it teaches you, how to print it, how to show the child the system, learning more about Project Core. I mean, this is just the place, this tab, the quick start guide, is the place to start if you want to just get up and running. The teaching supports and implementation tab has, under the instructional planning, it gives you some handouts or some reflections that you can use as you're going through core and starting it in your district or teaching others how to use it. If you want to know more about using 3D symbols, there's some quick reference guides, and we've used these classroom posters a lot. You can print them and hang them around the school. They're not the core posters, but you definitely will find core posters here, or maybe even through some of the sites that Jenny showed or that Cheryl showed. A lot of the companies have core posters too. We made our own core poster because we have our own aided language book, and I think other districts do as well. But it's great. This can be just a great tier 1, throughout the classroom, throughout the school, literacy. So this is a great place to start. But as I alluded to, the professional development, I tell you, this is wonderful. We've used it in so many different ways. There's modules that really seem to be in chronological order, how you might start. There's the overview talking about the vocabulary, and I'll get into the modules in a minute, but what aided language input is, which is really modeling. There's lots of terms for it. But what I really liked is if you keep going, it talks about how to implement it in your daily routines. It even gets into shared reading, which is big. So if you're doing some comprehensive literacy for all, you can come back here and show more about shared reading, predictable chart writing. I mean, it's just awesome what they have here. And it's all done for you, and it's all free. So let me get you back up here. Let me show you some of the modules. I'm just going to open up the Universal Core module. It talks about the outcomes. So we've used this as a credit class. So we've offered it as a credit for some of our staff, and then other things as well to meet the criteria for a credit, but we've used it that way. Some of our support staff or teachers have been able to do the online self-directed module for each of them, and they were given CEUs or compensation. When I'm training, I'll use the facilitated materials because if you're presenting to a group, it has absolutely everything you need in here, from videos to handouts, even activities. You know, sometimes I'm thinking, what's a great activity to really hit home this area? And it's there. There's even assessments, you know, self-assessments and reflections. So I feel like when I've used this, I mean, it's taken the guesswork away from me, but it's research-based. It just has absolutely everything that you need. And then the self-directed modules, I think I probably could have gotten back there a little bit easier, but is what we've used then again. Like I said, for CEUs, some people have been compensated for doing it, but it's been just a great way to get the information out to more people, and in the way that maybe they learn best, whether it's self-directed or face-to-face, you know, facilitated. So this is, like I said, just an amazing site. Let me see if I can get back here. And this is the intro, getting into the individual self-directed modules. And then they have more about Universal Core. There's a tab on that. And just talking about what it is, what core you might be using, if it's the 36 location, 9 location based on your student. If you have a student CVI, you know, scanning, there's even assisted, you know, the scanning. So there's lots of eye gaze. So there's lots of variety here. And then there's talking about communication apps, different companies, like we've already been kind of talking a little bit about, but I would highly recommend, you know, you start here. And this has just been that site that I think we all have probably gone to. So Project Core.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we move on to the next section, I'm curious, I noticed with a few of the different sites that were shared, there was mention of 3D symbols. Are any of you using those?
Oh, I'll let Cheryl talk first.
So we did get a 3D printer through a grant with our BVI teachers, and we have used some of them. Project Core has the files all available so that you can just print them off. The problem is, and I don't know that we've done a lot of them, because there's also already universally made 3D symbols for a lot of the BVI materials, and they don't match up with the Project Core ones. And so our BVI teachers haven't used them as much, but I do think that they are a really cool option to have.
Alice, did you want to share anything on that?
Yes, we have in our high schools, our tech students make them because they have the big 3D printers, so they'll make them for us. So if we need one, we'll say, oh, we need another set, and they'll make them for us. So that's been really great training for them. But sometimes we'll take them and we'll just tape them on, you know, like a Cheap Talk or some of the, you know, like even the Go Talks, you know, we'll put them on there. If we have a student that CVI or maybe needs a little more of that tactile, we would put them, you know, there, or you can put them around the room, or just different things like that.
Awesome, thank you. Well, last but not least, we've got our activities director. Morty is going to share some wonderful examples and resources for implementing activities.
So I'm focused. I'm going to try and share my screen. Just a warning, my computer is being very weird. So let's see how this works. I'm kind of focusing on some lower mid-text, some communication buttons. Do all of you do you know what a communication button, what some of them look like? Like the BIGmacks, the step-by-steps. I don't know, Amy, if you brought any with, or.
You know, I don't. Courtney, what do you have? All right.
I do have some here.
Okay.
Right here, I am holding a big step-by-step, which is the graduated version of a BIGmack. It's a large switch. It's larger than my hand. And there are interchangeable switch covers. So there's 4 different colors you can have. And then you can also print symbols and put them on top of it. So they have, this is the big version. And they also have smaller ones that they call the Little Mac or the Little Step by Step. I also have talking bricks here too, Morty, if you want me to show those.
Well, if anybody needs some more examples, just holler. But what I have on here is just a list of resources, and it's on that document. They're not really, some of them are websites, but I see, because I work with students who often use some of these, a lot of times I see people like kind of running out of ideas. You know, where can we use them? What can we do? How can we evolve them with use in the general education classroom? So I put together some resources. This is the 101 ideas for using a BIGmack or other single message buttons, kind of like what she just showed you. There's a lot of fun ones for both home and school. And that's something I like too, because we're working with using a communication button at school. It's nice for them to be able to take it home once in a while and try to do some of those things. So there's all kinds of ideas there on that one. Then there is the same one for using the big step-by-step and other single message communication. Or sequential message buttons, sorry. So some of the step-by-steps you can have a series of messages on. So you hit it the first time, it'll say something. You'd hit it a second time, it would say something a third. So they could, you know, do any of these sorts of activities, you know, repeating lines in the story. You know, if you communicate sometimes for circle time with the parent, and you can put like their weekend activity in a couple of those, so that that student then can hit the button and share their during their circle time. Lots of different ideas there for those, and that's fun. So this one is for more communication single button ones. This one has some other different ideas on it. I really like that 3-2-1. We've used it quite a bit in preschool and early education, with students being, you know, letting them be a part of starting a game, or in FIED or DAPE. Some fun activities there.
Morty, this is Courtney. I'm just gonna show the talking bricks real quick. So these are small single button message communicators, and they can be configured into different designs. So I have it in kind of like an L shape right now, but you can do it all on a line, or you can take them apart and use one individually. So just thought I'd show another example.
Those are great. Those are a wonderful tool.
And they're magnetic.
Yes. This is that again, more ideas of what use it for. So there's a more games. This one is a cool idea. Have the lunch on there, so when your student, it's their turn to read the lunch menu. So that I have one teacher who has that right up there. Also has it. They also use it for like the weather and whatever the activity of the day. Some really activities. This one is more, there's all kinds of stuff in here. This is a website. So it really talks about the different types of switches, how you can get the most out of them. It's a great resource. It talks about how to record the messages, how to maybe best set it up. Like this little one that he's showing right now, these are little recorder, like a picture frame. I still have some. I don't use a ton, but sometimes they can be really fun for an on the go when you're students gonna be sharing something or an activity. So there's a lot of different ideas in here. A lot of different other kinds of switches, how-tos. This is a fun website to go to and see what's happening. And this document is basically about switch progression and how you can move them forward. Where do you start? Really just the basics. It's a nice site to really talk about. You have all of those in your sorry,
The resource
I'm
list.
trying to
All
talk
of,
at the same time. In
all
your
of them will
thing,
be in the resource list.
the last one I'm going to show you is this is a recordable answer buzzer off of Amazon, and it's about $15 for 4 of them. And they've been like super great for getting my kids involved, kids who use AAC devices, in activities within the classroom. I have a teacher who was all on board. Their classroom played Sparkle. You know, they got a whole bunch of them, all the letters on it. No kids could talk. They had to run up and hit the right letter to spell the word. So it was really nice for involving the whole class in using some button communication. So one student wasn't feeling left out. They're super handy. That the voice quality is not the greatest, but they're super handy for those quick active games, easy to record. It can be really helpful to getting everybody involved. So those are just some quick and easy resources. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me or any other resources they're thinking they could use.
I would love to just add something on that, Marty, because I think that, you know, when we look at language and communication, and then we look at engagement and participation, often teams who are doing the best they can will use the single message output switches as the AAC tool. And it is an AAC tool, but it's more engagement and participation than it is robust.
Right.
And so when we talk about that, one of the John Halloran, the guy that does the LAMP training, he said something 10 years ago that has stuck with me. And I use it all the time. We want to define what we're doing, because these are incredible tools for engagement and participation. But if we use the same button for multiple messages, the child doesn't actually know what it's going to say. And so to call that communication, it is communication, but it's not a purposeful communication as much as it is they're participating in the activity. So when we start to think about implementing it beyond a single switch, we can look at adding more switches and maybe having the blue switch say one message and the yellow switch say a different message, so that, or we maybe put the blue switch on the, you know, the left part of their lap tray and the yellow switch on the right part. Or some of those awesome ideas that were on what you had, sticking switches by the door to say I need to go. And when a switch has a specific motor plan to it with a specific message that doesn't change, that's when it flips from being engagement and participation into, oh my gosh, this is a purposeful communication. You just reached for the more button, and now you reach to the other side and you reach for an all done button. And I know you're telling me two different things. So not to diminish the use of single switches, because they are incredible tools. But just to think about what really are we targeting? And if we're really targeting, right? And I'm sure you might all know that, but it was kind of eye-opening to me when he said the most complex communication thing is a single switch, because you never know what it's going to say. And I was like, that's a really good point. So I've really tried to incorporate even low-tech motor planning into using those switches to make them, you know, more purposeful, or to have a specific activity for that switch. And I love using them for all those. The Fine Motor Boot Camp. Have you guys, any of you? Yeah, that Fine Motor Boot Camp. I think Kirsten Doubles did a training through MDE about it, but it was all about engagement and participation for kids with multiple physical disabilities and cognitive disabilities, and they used a ton of those low-tech switches and spinners and things, and they're so awesome. So I haven't seen half the resources you showed, Marty, and I'm really excited.
I really am excited about the low tech switch answer buzzers that you shared, Morty. You know, at what a great price. It just gives folks an option, I think, to get more and then
Like
make them.
like I said, it's kind of what Shell said. If you're going to use it for teaching a child communication, then I wouldn't use these. But for those engagement and activities and quick on the go, so you know, yeah, it's a way to get them involved.
Absolutely. Well, I see we're getting really close on time here. And before we run out of time, we wanted to let you know how you can get your hands on some of this stuff. Try it out. Jameis, we could call you on the spot. Are you interested in sharing a little information about the lending libraries that are available through both Minnesota and North Dakota? 5 minutes or less.
Sure. Yep. So we have a ton of these devices that were mentioned today available for short-term loans. Our loans are 45 days. It's pretty simple. As far as checking it out, you just go to our website at mn.atforall.com, and Courtney put that link in the chat. And then you can search for your specific device if you know what you're looking for. You would check it out just like you would do online shopping, add it to your cart, check that out, and then you get to loan it for 45 days. So just a little bit of paperwork that requires us to have you sign a loan agreement, get that back to us, and then we can mail it to you at no cost. But at the end of the 45-day loan, we do ask that you pay the cost of shipping the device back to us. So there's a little bit of cost involved with shipping. And I believe North Dakota, and Courtney can jump in, runs very similar to our program as well.
Yes, North Dakota is almost exactly the same. We offer 6-week loans of equipment, so basically 45 days. And the individual is just responsible for the cost of getting the device back to us. But it can be dropped off at one of our offices, or if we're rolling through town, we are happy to pick up. So I will put the link for our equipment database in the chat. And also, we're always happy to help walk through what devices that we have available, because sometimes it's tricky to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you call or email us and say, I'd like a sequential communication device, or I'd like XYZ, what do you have? We can do that. And then I'll just to add also that we have iPads with a lot of the communication apps already on them with the full licenses. So if you're wanting to try out that device or that communication system with your learner, that might be an option as well.
And I just want to say, I think Courtney and I agree that if you are needing help, just reach out. It's our job is to kind of facilitate how to get you a device and walk you through the step of getting through the loan process. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're happy to help.
This is Amy. I also want to mention the RATSI program. So Jenny, who is one of our esteemed panelists here today, is at the Regional Assistive Technology Center in Moorad, and they are one of our partners at STAR, and their equipment is available through the MN-AT for All program. At STAR, when we have folks reaching out to us who have real specific AAC needs or complex questions, oftentimes we're going to send them to Jenny because that is her world, that is where she lives. So we want to make sure that we are recommending the right resources and tools to folks. So I just want to make sure and mention that. And again, here we are at the end of our hour. This time always flies by. It's just always so fun. And we want to thank all of our panelists for joining us. We do have a third session that is going to be happening in January, but before that one, I just want to let everyone know that December 13th, we are hosting assistive technology and vocational rehab services for the workforce. And again, it's going to be a panel event where we've got panelists from both North Dakota and Minnesota. So please take a look at either Facebook or our LinkedIn pages to learn more about those events. And if you're subscribed to any of our listservs, we'll put that information on there. The resource sheet that you will be receiving does have all of the panelists' contact information. So if you have any questions that you would like to direct to them specifically, feel free to. Otherwise, as James mentioned, you can certainly reach out to Minnesota Star or North Dakota Assistive, and we'll connect you with who you need to speak to. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, and good luck with implementing these tools in the classroom.